Don't look now, but the Sacramento Kings are playing some of their best basketball, top 10 in the Western Conference. Did anybody see this coming?
No. Where they come from?
Yeah.
And they need to be here right now. 16-year drought. Come on, y'all. Y'all got to make it to the playoffs this season, even if it's by way of the play-in tournament. You got to show up. It is time. And with this roster, why not?
Why not? Exactly. What I'm seeing from De'Aaron Fox right now and Kevin Huerter, that Malik Monk pickup was like, oh, so near and dear to my heart. Love
Yeah.
Malik Monk. But I think the key cog in this whole team is DeMontis Sabonis.
Can I just say he has a resurgence? Because if you watch DeMontis Sabonis play over the years, he got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was just falling flat in Indiana. So no, I'm serious. No disrespect to that, but he's come to this Kings team, and I'm like, hey, Sabonis,
Yes,
get
yes.
it? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Mike Brown is the perfect leader for them. Got those guys playing defense. You called it, huh? You were like Mike
I
Brown.
said when Mike Brown accepted the position as head coach with the Sacramento Kings, I was like, that's the one.
Yep.
That right there was going to be the turning point for this roster. And I'm glad it's this roster and not a previous roster. It needed to be new players, new coach. Yes. And now they got the beam. I'm just saying it is an amazing story to see.
Yes, yes. So Luke Walton didn't do it for you. Alvin Gentry couldn't do it either. They no, they
Nope.
didn't. Okay.
Nope. 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 No.
So it's been 16 years since Sacramento Kings made it to the playoffs. And is this the year that you feel like they'll end their drought?
Yes. Yes. However, I do contend that it may be on the back of teams that are not playing well. Hear me out, right? So is this team a team that can compete? Maybe I think their ceiling may be round one of the playoffs if they are able to. I believe that if they make it to the playoffs, it will be by way of the play-in tournament. That is not a negative on them because they ain't seen no parts of any play-in for 16 years that you mentioned. So I think that they can do it. However, I do believe that they are actually holding up a spot for our teams that we revere, teams like the Lakers, teams like the Golden State Warriors, right? And so if you think about, because those two teams are at the bottom of the standings in the West right now, if they were actually playing at their max capacity, would the Kings still be where they are today? I just don't know. So I want to know, how will the season continue for the Kings? I believe that they can compete. I believe that their ceiling is round one of the playoffs if they make it there. But it may be because some other team that we all anticipated at the beginning of the season happened to not show up.
Yeah, yeah, I have to agree with you that I think the Kings will make it to the play-in tournament, but can we consider that the end of their playoff drought? Or does the drought end if
Mm.
they actually crack the top 8 and go to the playoffs?
For me, they would have to crack the top 8.
Okay.
Because I still think that the play-in tournament, although I know it's great for viewership, I know it's probably great for uh, money to the league. At the end of the day, it's still going to be the top 8. Let- Let's just say what it is. And I think that if you make it to the top 8, even before the actual playoffs begin, I believe that if you're 7 and 8, you actually get gypped because you got to go
Yes.
through another series, another round of pre-playoff games in order for you to secure your 7th and 8th spot. In some ways, I get it from the whole fanfare, but it still seems a little unfair to me. So
Hey, well, be top 1 through 6. I'm just saying.
that's what I'm talking about. And for me, I don't know if they're there yet. If they're there yet, so 7 and 8,
Okay.
I can see that possible, but they'll have to play their way into a playoff spot, even if they end the season at a 7 and 8 spot by way of the play-in tournament. So that may be questionable for me, but no, the play-in tournament is not. They still have a drought for me. You got to make it into the playoffs. You got to be able to play round one of the playoffs for me to say the drought has ended.
Well, I don't really believe that the Kings can breach the top 8. And so the drought will continue, but at least there's hope on the horizon because their lineup right now, as long as they can stay together and Mike Brown continues to lead this group of guys, I think they're on their way to ending the drought, but it might be a 17 or 18-year drought instead.
Ooh, 18?
Hey, maybe.
Dang.
The last person they need to be talking about anything related to playoffs or championships is Charles Barkley.
Why would you say that?
Because Charles Barkley made some very interesting comments on Ja Morant, one of our faves to the show.
Mm-hmm.
He said the next evolution for Ja Morant is that he's got to learn how to make the players around him better. When you're a great player, you can shoot the shot anytime you want. I don't think he's added that to his game yet. Pause. Sometimes when you make a play, you got to be thinking, I can go around this guy, but I need to get this guy going. Okay, Charles Barkley, you're the last person need to be talking about anything, I think.
Really? I didn't have a problem with the comment.
Mm,
I didn't have a problem with the comment because of the first 3 words. The next evolution. He
mm.
is not talking about right now. That's how I took the comment. That's why I didn't have a problem with it. Every player eventually will change how they play the game because their body requires them to change how they play the game, right? Their team players that they may have on the roster at the time may require that they change how they play the game a little bit. But I didn't take it he meant right now. No, right now, Ja Morant is the one that's helped. This Ja Morant is helping lead the Memphis Grizzlies to the top 3. This Ja Morant helped lead the Grizzlies to a deep playoff run, at least round 2 in 2022. So no, I don't think that Charles Barkley's comment on the surface was that bad because he said the next evolution. He didn't say, well, he need to change right now. I didn't get that from this comment.
Well, I got it that he needs to change right now because what he's saying is Ja Morant is not doing this right now. And he needs to start doing this right now. That's why I took offense to it. And I think Ja Morant and some of the guys on the team, like Brandon Clark, came to his aid as well. Other players around the NBA came to Ja Morant's defense as well. I don't think that's true when Ja Morant's top 10 in assists in the NBA. I mean, what is he not getting his teammates involved? Is he not passing the ball? Is he not being dominant? I have a problem with it. And it could be maybe I'm still a little sensitive because of the way Charles Barkley kind of attacked Klay Thompson here recently, too. I just feel like Charles Barkley is just throwing too many negative comments into the NBA space.
I will say that anything that Charles Barkley says that is not a favorable praise to any player will be deemed as negative. I get that. And I think he has set the precedent for people that feel that way about him by the Klay Thompson comment, in the other comments he's made in the past. I get it. I get it. So if you hear Charles Barkley say something that may not be positive or can be deemed as negative, I can see why people would get offended by that. I get it. I get it. But when I heard him say it, because I actually heard him say it, I was live when I was watching the game. I was like, okay, I can see that. I'm not necessarily mad at the comment because I said if I listen to it, his next evolution. Like, why he got to do it? I didn't say he had to do it right now. Why he got to do it right now? Ja Morant don't need to change nothing about his game right now because his game is winning basketball, right? It's winning basketball. But if we think about what his next evolution looks like, and this is next evolution 4 years from now, is it 5 years from now? Maybe. Maybe the game will require it. But I do think that, and this is probably going to be, it's going to be hard to take. I can see because when Ja Morant gets the ball, and I love his explosiveness. I love the fact that he can get to the rim and slash and do all. I think it's great. But I can see that eventually we will be talking different about that type of game if that does not get the Grizzlies into the Western Conference Finals or the finals. Will the discussion change? We love it now because it's explosive. We love to watch it. I love to watch it. And I don't think it should change anything right now because it's winning basketball. But if there's 2 years down the line and the Memphis Grizzlies cannot seem to crack the code and they can't seem to get above the ceiling of round 2, they can't seem to make it to the Western Conference Finals, and then beyond that, with this style of play that the Memphis Grizzlies have, I guarantee you that the discussion will be different. That's just all I'm saying. So as they continue to play, they should continue to play the way they're playing because it's successful. That's why I hope that when they go to the postseason this season, that they actually make it to the conference finals. And I hope they make it to the finals. And if not the finals, at least the conference finals. And then next year season, at least to the finals. Because eventually, if you've watched any basketball, people that love you now will then hate your game later.
Yes.
So that's how I took his next evolution, right? As long as they continue to win, we won't have no problem. No problem. But they start losing, and Ja Morant still plays the way he plays, and Desmond Bain still plays the way he plays, and Coach Taylor still coaches the way he coaches. We will be talking different. And I think that's how I got this comment from Charles Barkley.
Okay. Okay. As long as the next evolution is the next 2 to 4 years, as you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And I'm only saying that if his style of play, which I love now, the league
Mhm.
loves now, fans love now, and it is doing it. I hope it doesn't change, because the moment it changes, watch this statement come to truth. Well, Charles Barkley said back in the day they can't seem, because we know those teams and those players that can't seem to crack the code when it comes
Yes.
to the postseason.
But also along those lines, though, Ja is so electric and such a great player
Yeah.
that he commands so much attention.
Mm-hmm.
How does that not help Desmond Bain? If people are focusing on
Mm-hmm.
Ja, how does that not help Xavier Tillman or Steven Adams or Brandon Clark? If the game plan is to stop Ja, you think those guys aren't open and getting easier buckets? That by default makes them much better and fills their stat sheet, and at the end of the day, gets them paid. So,
I
I
agree.
mean, if you look at it from that sense, I
Mm-hmm.
think Ja is doing that already. I don't agree with Charles Barkley's comments at all. Whether
Mm-hmm.
he's talking about the next 2 to 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
I just, I don't know. I don't know. And then there's this thing too, where old school guys, veterans like Charles Barkley or Shaq or anybody, they love to talk about the Rudy Gobert's making 205, $205 million, Ja Morant killing the game as well financially because they didn't have the opportunity to make this kind of money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's that too. I think that's the undertone when I hear comments like this from Charles Barkley, who played back in the day when top salary was probably 30 million over 3 years. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and guys are making that in one season now. So there is a little bit of jealousy, and every time that I hear comments from him, my mind automatically goes to that.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree that the game is different. I do agree that the players make much more money, and guess what? The next set of players will make even more money.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. I mean, the NBA is making a lot of money now. So the money that Charles Barkley made was a lot of money back then. The
Yes.
money that Ja Morant and all his partners are making right now is a lot of money right now. When the next set of players come out, they're gonna be making even more money. It's gonna be a lot of money. So it's supposed to evolve, but evolution doesn't happen overnight. So what I'm hoping for the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant in particular is that his game will transcend all of that, and that this statement that Charles Barkley has stated today will not come will not be needed and will continue to, I guess, not come to pass, because it is successful basketball in the postseason. Let's think about it, you guys. I don't know, but I deem successful seasons for teams is how deep they go, how they get to the postseason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can go deep to the postseason, and I don't want the Memphis Grizzlies to be another Utah Jazz. They can get to the postseason, but they can't go deep,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
right? Because then what happens? Oh, does Donovan Mitchell have it to the next level? What is Rudy Gobert? I understand. It becomes, when the praise then becomes the dig, right? And I don't want that for Ja Morant. And so what I'm hoping is that, and I do believe that the league is changing, so the way he plays can continue to be successful, but the success will be determined as deep as they go in the playoffs, because your explosiveness, as great as it is, the way that Memphis Grizzlies are playing, if they start to not go deep, then they'll be saying, is it the coach? Do we need to, uh, Coach Taylor, do we need to now get a new coach? Have you not seen the history?
Yes.
Will it repeat itself? I hope it doesn't. But I didn't have a problem with the comments, because I just thought about when he said evolution. I'm thinking years from now. I didn't consider it to be right now.
After being blown out by 32 points by the Sacramento Kings, Kevin Durant sounded off on his trade request he made over the summer and the pressure that carried the team. Let's talk about this article by Chris Haynes at Bleacher Report. Some of the highlights are KD being quoted saying, when we're all playing like crap, the one person they're going to look at. That's why I requested a trade. He also goes on to say, look at our starting lineup: Edmund Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Nick Claxton, and me. It's not disrespect, but what are you expecting from that group? You expect us to win because I'm out there? Oop. Those are very interesting comments. Let's dig in.
You know what? You need to read the article. Like, I
Hmm.
just think that I understand the need for clickbait. I get the need to take out pieces of an article that can be deemed as not favorable and make that a highlight. But if you read the entire article by Chris Haynes and the summary of the discussion he had with Kevin Durant, when I read that, I don't get the tone that these particular clips alone or these comments alone intend to give. So I think that the article was way more than just this. I do agree that, and we can all agree, I believe, that if the Nets do not win, Kevin Durant will be the one that has to take the brunt of that. Is that not a true statement?
It
Maybe
is.
he wasn't supposed to say it, but it's a true statement. The moment we go, "Ooh," because he forced his way out of OKC, and then he left the Warriors. Like, now he's over here, the Nets, and this debacle that they're dealing with, and he's not supposed to say, "Y'all gonna blame me if we're not successful." We are gonna blame you, KD. That's the facts. That's the facts. And so for him to say that, he's just reiterating what he knows, what we all know. So I had no problem with that.
Yeah, I actually share in his frustration. If you just look at it, I mean, he left what he thought was the Golden State Warriors to a better situation. He's got a new coach now. He has new teammates. I mean, from Harden and Irving, now he just has Irving kind of in and out, on
Mhm.
and off, and Ben Simmons. And I understand his frustration. Yeah, KD is the franchise guy.
Mhm.
So yeah, we are going to look at him. However, the knock on KD has always been his leadership. But in the article, he talks about he leads a different way. He allows guys to be who they are. And he kind of shows up and does the work and leads by example. He's not one of those vocal guys. That's what I get from KD.
That's what I get from KD as well. And I think that this article also illustrated his change in how he sees himself in the game. So I do believe it mentions in the article where he talks about all the accolades and all the awards that he has garnered over his time with the league. But now his legacy that he wants to leave, and that's in the article, he wants to leave a legacy of where he is helping players become who they're supposed to be. Right. And so it's about the transition and the evolution again. There's that word in this particular podcast, the evolution of how he sees himself today than what he may have seen himself in the past. And I'm on board for that. People do change. You have to adjust based on your time, based on your experiences and the things that you've gone through. I contend that he did not expect to go over to the Nets and have to deal with the turmoil that he has had to deal with since day one. He thought he was going over there to a nice situation. Why do we get so upset about him wanting to be over there in a situation that he helped create when other players create situations for themselves as well? Unfortunately, the players that he was creating his situation with had their own issues. And he has to now go out there, show up every night, and play in spite of. He also mentioned in an article that he just wants to play basketball. That is the foundation for him. So he's going to show up regardless of what the other players that are supposed to be on the same journey with him decided to do. And so if now this roster, now we get to the second comment that's always highlighting as the biggest talk of the town right now, the NBA in the NBA streets right now, where he's talking about, look who I'm playing with. Well, yeah, because that's not who you signed up to play with initially.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not. The people that you signed up to play with, unfortunately, let you down. But guess
Yeah.
what? Kevin Durant is saying, I'm going to still go out there and I'm going to give my 110% and I'm going to still be top of the league in scoring. I'm going to still be dominant as I can when I do defense. And I'm still going to learn from the game, because he mentioned that in the article as well. So he's doing the best he can with the cards that he's dealt, and they are starting to play winning basketball.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is Edmund Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, and Nick Claxton probably would not be starting on any other team
Ex-
in the NBA.
Why is that a problem? That is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Every team have role players, and those role players should know who they are.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
he wanted to list it and say it in an article, because at the end of the day, even if he's playing with these guys and even if they're playing great, if they don't win, it's still going to be on me.
It's a true
Me
statement.
meaning Kevin Durant.
Hmm.
Because I was supposed to be playing with. James Harden, Kyrie. Oh, that didn't work. I was supposed to be me and Kyrie. Oh, well, that got delayed a little bit. Now it's supposed to be me, Ben Simmons, and Kyrie. Kyrie maybe, Ben Simmons if he feels like it. So what? And I'm supposed to not try to encourage the players that I'm playing with to be their best so we can win collectively? Stop.
Yeah, yeah. I like the new leadership change and Jacques Vaughn. They seem
Me
to be
too.
playing more fluid basketball. So, you guys, if you haven't read this article by Chris Haynes, you got to check it out. It is very insightful. And it kind of like changed my perspective on KD because he's kind of been the bad guy since he forced his way out of OKC and Golden State and now landed here with the Brooklyn Nets. So, you guys should definitely read that article.
And I'm not even mad at him requesting the trade in the offseason from the Brooklyn Nets to another roster. Because if you read in the article, you guys, read the article. We have to be very careful as consumers of content to watch how we perceive these clickbait type pieces from full blown long form videos or long form summaries of discussions and making an opinion about just this one little sentence or two little sentences, because it's just sometimes it's much more than that, and it removes the context on why something was said when somebody said it. So he also mentioned that the reason why he wanted to request a trade is because they were not practicing. They were not being held accountable in film sessions. Like he said, I want to be coachable. I want that. I want you to call me out if it's going to help my players be better. The people that I'm playing with be better and accept the call out as well. Kevin Durant in this interview is saying, "Coach me," because I'm still learning the game.
Steve Nash.
And since the Nets organization, was not doing that, I wanted out.
Yeah. And he also mentioned that Jacques Vaughn is on the same wavelength as him in terms of accountability and practicing hard, practice how you play and that sort of thing. So that's good to hear, especially for Jacques, who was interim coach twice, second time, and now has received a head coaching position. So maybe the Brooklyn Nets will, make a shift and go deep in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But right now, they're barely in the top 10.
Barely in the top